Good afternoon, Oscar. Are you on the platform?
Yeah, bro. Hope you can hear me okay. So your new
Okay.
headphones work.
Yep. Yeah, no, the mic on the other one's bombed out, so I just replaced them quickly for this meeting. I didn't want any more fun and games.
Yeah, my headphones is also busy going.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes at some point I'm gonna have to get a hold of Bradley and say, look, are you coming to my house or am I coming to your office? Because this thing, the laptop's internal mic and speakers are gone. I'm running on headphones, so if the headphones back up, I've got nothing. So I don't know what can be done about it. But in any case.
Okay, cool.
Okay, good.
Okay.
We'll wait for the quorum and the meeting to start, and then we'll start off as discussed.
Yeah, go.
Okay. Good, man. Bye. Oscar, are you on the platform? Oscar?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
Sorry, man. I just had a thought quickly. I don't know how you and Chair might see it, but considering that Chair thinks we should refresh everyone on Northwest, but we have read it, should we not also use the opportunity to dodge confusion about duplicate clauses that we might have voted on before by the clause being read, the department discussing it, and then there's a vote for Northwest, just to say, look, we've gone through it before, but as a refresher, we'll read each one, but we're not going to read the whole lot, and then we start voting again. We refresh, we quickly read it, and then department quickly comments, and then the committee can go into voting. Do you think we should do it that way, or do you think we should let the committee decide again how they want to handle it, since we have done it before?
Let the committee decide.
Okay.
Let the committee decide. Let's take the lead from Chair. Hello. Must I resend it to you? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Baby. Baby.
Hello, Mama.
Hello, sweetheart. How are you?
I'm good, and you, Mama? You?
I'm
Hayi
fine.
usebenzile.
I don't know
Namhlanje.
Antoni ke ndonceda nini ke my comrade.
Hayi bazonceda.
Yeah, Mazozo.
Hello, my loving.
Mazozo. Hayi namhlanje. Hayi.
Andazi noba nenza ntoni qha kuba ipostponiwe le yethu. Ngithe mandiyeni. I don't know. Uma ngithule niyazi ba angazi next ni.
Ndikubalele WhatsApp.
Okay.
Ifunde.
Sure.
Sure, my darling. Afternoon, honorable members. Good afternoon, honorable members.
Afternoon, Chairperson.
Afternoon, Chairperson.
How are you, Mama?
Awukade ngiphuza imithi yami sithando sami ngeke usibone isithombo sami manje.
Phuza
Recording
Mama.
in progress.
Yeah, I was taking the medication stand.
Phuza medication. Now it's 3 o'clock. I think we need to start. Let me check with Aska. Aska, the department are in the meeting.
Yes, yes, Chairperson. Department's in the meeting.
And then Pumza is in the meeting? A legal advisor?
Yes, they're all in the meeting, Chair.
And then are we forming quorum
Yes, Chair, we've got 6 provinces on the platform
for now?
for now,
Okay.
Chair.
Okay. Let me take this opportunity, honorable members, to welcome you to our meeting. First, let me welcome Honorable De Bruin. It is his first meeting in our committee. The last time he apologized, so we welcome him, as we know that Honorable De Bruin is replacing Honorable Klute from Free State. So you are welcome, Honorable De Bruin. This is your committee. You can participate as you like. Feel free. And let me take this opportunity again to welcome the Department of Environment and Forestry Fishery to our meeting, and all of you honorable members. You are welcome. This meeting is a continuation of our last meeting last week, where we were disrupted by the issue of electricity. All members had a problem of network. So we are going to continue with the meeting. Thank you very much. I'm not going to waste any time on welcoming you, because we don't know whether today the load shedding can come again. Aska, give us the agenda.
Thank you, Chairperson. The agenda today is the continuation of the negotiating mandates on the National Forest Amendment Bill. Last week, we got as far as Northern Cape. We just started the voting on the Northwest when all sorts of things happened with regards to connection and everything. So even the voting was very disruptive. So as discussed, we will continue with the mandates today. Will be Northwest and Western Cape. One other issue, Chairperson, during the voting process of last week in the Mpumalanga mandate, we did not vote on number 21. We seem to have missed, in all the chaos with load shedding, and we've seemed to have missed the voting on 21. So the process today, we will go back to Mpumalanga, close number 21, read that one out, discuss it again, vote on it. Then we'll do the same. Chairperson, I'll take your guidance here. On the Northwest, we discussed it last week and we were about to vote when we were disrupted. So would you rather us read out the Northwest again, discuss it again, and then vote? Then it's a clean process from the start, no disruptions. I take guidance from you, Chair. So it will only be the Mpumalanga, the one from Mpumalanga, Northwest, Western Cape, and then the 2 minutes, then we're done, Chair.
Thank you very much. What I can say, because most of the members were not in, can we start by reading and discuss?
Okay. We'll start with the Mpumalanga one, Chairperson.
Sure. Read it and we discuss it.
Okay, that will be Kobus' job, Chair. Thank you.
Job. Kobus?
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, all members of the committee department. I have shared the Mpumalanga's negotiating mandate on screen. Aska, have I got the page visible for everybody?
That's correct.
Okay. Clause 21, as Aska stated, was missed in the confusion last week. I will start with the clauses reading. 21. The challenges relating to section 17.2 are not rectified completely by the proposed amendment, as reference is still made to a natural forest or a woodland protected under section 12.1. This places a severe restriction on which woodlands would qualify for a controlled area. As such, a woodland would first have to be declared a protected woodland under Section 12. The Minister should be able to intervene in any instance a woodland is being deforested, irrespective of whether it has been declared under Section 12(1). The amendment should thus read, a natural forest or woodland which is threatened by deforestation, and the reference to protection under Section 12(1) should be removed. That is the clause as was missed
Thank
in
you.
the voting last.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kubas. Department.
Thank you, Chair. From our side, we will continue. Mr. Sibusisi Kubisi will continue with the discussion which he led last week. And so I will hand over to him.
Are you the DG?
No.
Okay.
Chief, apologies for that. It's Linda Garlip. I'm the Chief Director for Law Reform and Policy Coordination. In the meeting, also Ms. Vanessa Bendeman, who is the Acting DDG for the branch. And then from Forestry, we got Ms. Pumeza Nudada and Mr. Reni Madula. And I also see Mr. Rian Okamp in the meeting.
Oh, thank you very much, ma'am. This is Mr. Sibusiso.
No, thank you, Honorable Chair and the honorable members. From our side on this point, I think this point is a recurring point. It's been raised in all the submissions that we've dealt with in the other 7 provinces. And our response to it is that the Forestry Amendment, the Act was amended in 2005, and this specific provision, Section 12(1), was removed in 2005. So in our view, there is no need to amend it further because the Section 12(1) was removed in 2005. So that is our position, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sibusiso. Mengema. Our legal advisor.
Greetings, Chairperson, and greetings to all the members and everybody on the platform. Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, on this issue, I am understanding that it pertains to clause 7. And as the department has pointed out, we have canvassed it a number of times, and the specific sections that the Mpumalanga is speaking to, it's related to declaration of trees as protected in Section 12, and the other reference, which is of Section 8, the power to set aside protected areas. Having followed the other amendments, in any case, Chairperson, once we get the proper deliberation and the adoption, it will be basically, in any case, falling away in terms of the changes that need to be made in clause 7 and what the department has indicated. So there won't be any need even to go to those provisions, the sections that are mentioned, like Section 12, which would have also been the sections if we look into them, that issue which I raised previously. So as indicated from this point number 21, there is no need to effect any changes, because in terms of the definition for the woodland, then the concern that is raised here is covered, Chairperson, and there will be a new definition for the woodland.
No, thank you very much, ma'am. Now I hand over back to Aska for conducting voting.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mpumalanga mandate number 21. Voting will be done in alphabetical according to provinces. I will call out the province's name. The delegate from that province will make 3 submissions, either support, not support, or abstain. Thank you. Eastern Cape.
Mandongeni,
Eastern Cape support. Hello.
Thank
Molo
you.
sana.
Hello.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
I'm audible.
Yes.
Molo.
Do you hear
Which one is that? Which one is that, Aska?
We
Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga number
check ukuthi
21.
ngiyezwakala na.
Number 21.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Eastern Cape support. Free State.
Aska?
Brain.
Chairperson.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am Angwenya.
Thank you, Chairperson. Free State supports.
Gauteng.
Assist support. Clause 21.
Gauteng.
We will come back to you.
Okay.
KZN.
KZN, we don't support.
Thank you, Mama.
Limpopo.
Yes, Mama.
Limpopo is not supporting, Chair.
Mpumalanga. Mpumalanga is not on the platform. Northern Cape's not on the platform. Northwest.
Not supporting. We are not supporting.
Thank you, Chair. Western Cape.
Western Cape abstain.
Abstain. Thank you, Chair. The mandate from Mpumalanga number 21 was supported by 2 provinces.
Wait, Aska. Can we check Mangwe?
Yes, ma'am. Gauteng.
Mangwe.
Even if she supports, it won't reach the quorum.
Okay.
It will be 3 provinces.
Yeah.
Eastern Cape is not supporting.
Okay, so Eastern Cape.
Not supporting Eastern Cape.
Order, please. Chairperson, can I take over here, please? Mam Dongeni, am I to understand correctly? You are changing your vote from support
Yes,
to
I'm
not
changing
support.
my vote, please.
Okay,
I'm changing my vote. I'm not supporting.
Okay, let me explain that within the rules, we have not left the voting platform on this clause. So the member from Eastern Cape is allowed, or any member is allowed to change their vote. So the voting as such, Ms. Gwenya from Gauteng, are you able to connect, Ms. Gwenya? Okay, for now, she's on the platform, but she's unable to speak. So I will read out the votes as is. Eastern Cape does not support. Free State supports. KZN, Limpopo, and Northwest do not support. Western Cape abstain. So we do not have 5 provinces that support. So this clause from Mpumalanga is not accepted. We will now go to the mandates. Apologies for the voice. We will now go to the mandates of Northwest Province. Thank you.
Can you read it, Mr. Gubas?
Yes, Chair, I will read Northwest's negotiating mandate. On the National Forests Amendment Bill, the mandate received from the province reads as follows. The Northwest Provincial Legislature votes in favor of the National Forest Amendment Bill with proposed amendments. These amendments are listed below. Chair, I will take your guidance from this point forward. Do I read all the clauses again, or do you wish to go clause by clause on today's reading? Last week we read them all at the same time. I'll take your guidance.
Read them all.
Perfectly fine, Chair. Clause 1, definitions. The definition of the word natural forest is supported as it is more of ecosystem approach. However, there is a strong proposal that guidelines be developed to inform decisions on natural forests, as a diagnostic species associated with natural forest could occur in dense woodland. In this instant, consideration will then need to be given to which non-diagnostic species occur in association with diagnostic species and their abundance. Clause or proposal 2. The current definition of woodland poses some challenges that does not address what size area would individuals look at for the 5% cover if the tree covers occurs in clumps. What does the term area mean in this context? Could the area between clumps with no tree cover then be considered not to be woodland? It is therefore proposed that the definition of woodland include the following wording to resolve challenges. That woodland to also encompass any area defined as woodland vegetation type in the official National Vegetation Classification or a specialist botanical survey or report. Amendment 3. Clause 2, Section 2A. Consider delegation the powers to authorize access to the natural forest to Makhosi through their formal structure, the House of Traditional Leaders. This will enable Makhosi to authorize harvesting or collection of natural trees for household use and for traditional events and the ritual like funeral and the initiation school or koma. Section 3, Amendment 4, Section 3 provides that natural forest may not be destroyed save in exceptional circumstances. However, there is no clarity on what is meant by destruction of natural forests. This creates a compliance and enforcement challenge as developers currently claim that Section 3 does not apply to their projects, as destruction of natural forests means the destroying of more of a forest than what they are aiming to destroy. The term is therefore proposed to be defined as destruction of natural forest amount to any action where one or more mature trees in a natural forest is felled or caused to die and or undergrowth is removed for the purpose of change in land use. This will require anyone wishing to destroy natural forest for a new land use to apply for a Section 7 license, and they would have to prove exceptional circumstances for the granting of the license. Amendment 5. The term new land use in Section 3 could also be understood as a land use regulated by town planning laws, allowing an argument that Section 3 does not apply to some developments because they already have a zoning approval. It is therefore proposed that the term new land use be defined as any human activity leading to the use of land which would require the removal of natural forest, which is not restricted to land use requiring land use approval or zoning. Amendment 6. Clause 4 of the bill, subsection 8.3, proposal that the wording exceptional circumstances be explained by developing a list of such circumstances. Amendment 7. The challenges related to Section 17.2 are not completely rectified by the proposed amendments, as reference is still made to a natural forest or a woodland protected under Section 12.1. This places a severe restriction on which woodlands would qualify for a controlled forest area, as such woodland would first have to be declared for protected woodland under Section 12. The minister should be able to intervene in any instance a woodland being deforested, irrespective of whether it has been declared under section 12(1). It is therefore proposed that amendment should thus read, a natural forest or woodland which is threatened by deforestation, and the reference to protection under section 12(1) should be removed. Amendment 8. Clause 8 of the bill, section 17, has a potential significant impact on land use capabilities and existing rights of citizens. It is therefore proposed that the provision should be made for some remedial action where existing land and resource rights of people are affected. There should be a clear criteria that might lead for when this unilateral declaration can take place, especially the land under the administration of tribal authorities, as that is where the cultural and spiritual practices are being performed, which are occurring mostly in the forest. Amendment 9, Clause 16, Section 58. It is proposed that harsher fines should be issued where a commercial forest alien species are not well managed and invasive plants spread from these areas, invading pockets of indigenous forests and grassland. Commercial forests should not be allowed in highly productive quaternaries in catchments where significant percentages of water in the catchment are generated. These areas should be conserved and indigenous forests declared as a matter of priority. Amendment 10. It is further proposed that fines and penalties must have categories because indigenous trees are a resource for survival for indigent citizens of the country. Previously disadvantaged citizens must receive a lower fine or must outrightly be exempted. Amendment 11. The minister must consider the need to develop regulations for the authorization of the removal of forest in protected areas and or protected environments. There must be a single process towards the authorization and imposing of penalties since protected forests are not in the Protected Areas Act. Those are the 11 proposed amendments for Northwest Chair. I hand back to the Secretary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kobas. The department, you can assist us. And then what I will do, honorable members, in our meeting, we have a state advisor, law advisor, and because of his voice or her voice, he cannot communicate. So we will allow him to write on the chart. When he advises us, he can write there on the chart. Department.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members. From my side, we just wish to first appreciate the support from the Northwest Province. And now, in terms of our responses, the first point is around the development of guidelines. There is a strong proposal that guidelines be developed to inform decisions on natural forests. So, Chair, in summary here, we are supporting the proposal. We are open to then developing guidelines to support to ease implementation of the Act. But once we are done with the bill, of course, we'll start with the process of developing regulations, and the guidelines will follow thereafter. So in summary, Chair, we agree that guidelines should be developed to ease implementation of the Act. Thank you, Chair. Then on the other points, the second one is on the definition of woodland. On this one, our initial views was that the current definition in the bill is adequate, but then after consideration of the submission from the Northwest Province, we are open to a few adjustments. Chair, we have proposed an alternative wording, which will then read as follows: an alternative definition of woodland which will then read as follows. Woodland means a group of indigenous trees which are not natural forests, but whose crowns cover at least 5% of the area they occupy, and which may in a degraded state have a crown cover of less than 5% or any vegetation type declared by the minister to be a woodland by notice in the Gazette. So what this alternative definition does is to include is to empower minister to then make that declaration by a notice in the Gazette to declare any vegetation type as and when the need arises. So this is the alternative definition that we are proposing. Chair, we are not supporting the definition to the extent that it references documents that are outside of the department's control. For example, the definition that was proposed is that it makes reference to documents such as the official national vegetation classification or a botanical survey or report. So to the extent that the definition references those documents that are outside of our control, we do not support it. So, but on this point, we are putting across this alternative definition for consideration by the committee. On the third point, the proposal for us to reference the House of Traditional Leaders in terms of the delegations. Chair, on this one, we already have an empowering provision in Section 48 of the Act, of the Principal Act, which already gives minister power to then delegate the exercise of any of his or her powers to an organ of state or to a person who is not an organ of state. So the Act already has an empowering provision for minister to then do all those delegations. In fact, if I may read through this specific provision, it says minister may delegate to a named official in the department or the holder of an office in the department or an organ of state or a person who or which is not an organ of state. So that provision is quite general to cover everyone. Minister everyone who, including the House of Traditional Leaders, if the circumstances permit. So there's no need for a definition on this proposal. Then on the following aspect, the definition of destruction of natural forest. We are supporting this definition, this proposal, but we are suggesting just a minor addition, a textual addition to the definition. So what we are suggesting is that this definition should be supported, but with the addition of the word resource use towards the end of that paragraph. So now instead the definition will read as follows: destruction of natural forest means any action where one or more mature trees in a natural forest is felled or caused to die, or the undergrowth removed for the purposes of land use or resource use. So we've just inserted resource use, the wording resource use towards the end. So Chair, we support this definition with that addition. But we note, Chair, that this definition was not in the initial bill, and therefore we leave it to the committee to decide whether to include this definition or not. Then the next point, Chair, is on the definition of the term new land use. We support the proposal to define the term new land use, but we also note that it is a new proposal which was not part of the original bill. So we're leaving it to the committee to then decide to include it or not. The next proposal is for us to define the word exceptional circumstances. And I think, Chair, this also is a recurring point which was also mentioned in in some of the mandates that we discussed previously. And our response is that we have a legal opinion to the effect that we should not define this term because it is a generally used term in the legal context, And if we define it, it will restrict us unnecessarily. So we have forwarded the legal opinion to the state law advisors and the parliamentary legal advisors, which supports the view that we should not define this term. On the next point, reference to section 12, subsection 1, I think we've discussed this one to say the Act was amended in 2005 to remove this provision. So there won't be a need then to make any further amendments in this regard. The next point is on the unilateral declaration by the minister and the bypassing of the, I think, of the PAJA rules in terms of consultation. Chair, on this one, I think we did explain even previously that this unilateral declaration by the minister is justified by the circumstances, because here it happens sometimes that there is imminent threat to our forestry resources, or which will lead to deforestation or destruction of forestry of trees, for example. Then minister will be justified to act immediately to respond to the imminent threat. So it would not make sense for minister to be required to first undertake exhaustive consultation processes before acting, because the action that is required is immediate. It is a response to an immediate threat to the forestry resources. So, Chair, on this one, we are saying this bypassing of the PAJA consultation processes is justified in the circumstances. And in fact, consultation is not overlooked altogether, because if you look at that provision, at the end, it says minister may then, there is an after the fact consultation process where minister can then go back. After she has made the declaration, she can always go back and then open up the window for consultation. And if necessary, she can then always go back to review her decision or make the necessary amendments. So the consultation requirement is not lost in this process. So that is our position on this point, Chair. Then on the next point, which references island species and catchment areas, I think our view is that these aspects are already regulated in terms of other relevant pieces of legislation, including the Biodiversity Act, NEMBA, and the Water Act. So there is no need for us to reinvent the wheel or to attempt to regulate those aspects within the Forestry Act, because they are already regulated in those other pieces of legislation. So we don't support that proposed amendment. On the general points, the last 2 points that are made, around penalties. Chair, I think there is the bill, or there is an attempt in the bill to enhance, to provide for enhanced penalties. But if you look at the proposal in terms of penalties, they are providing for a range of a penalty. For example, if it says the courts can impose a penalty of up to, for example, 10 million. So that is a range. So it's not fixed. So meaning that each case will have to be decided on its own merits and facts, and a penalty, a suitable penalty will be imposed based on the circumstances of each case. So if the fact that the mere fact that the Act says 10 million, it doesn't mean that the penalty that will be imposed is 10 million. It can be anything from R1 to up to 10 million, depending on the nature and the extent of the offense. So in that instance, so we don't support a specific reference to previously disadvantaged persons in terms of the penalties, because I think with the nature of the penalties that are imposed, those categories of persons are catered for. And in fact, I think we did mention also that previously disadvantaged persons are in any event excluded or exempted from some of the provisions of the Act in terms of the licensing requirements. That is, if their activities are to support their cultural practices or for home use or consumption. So they would not necessarily be offending anything within the forestry areas if their activities are to support their cultural practices or are for domestic use. So the last point, Chair, I think here we're saying the removal of natural forests is already regulated under Section 7 of the Act. So we don't support that proposed amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Sam. Members, you must read on the chart. The legal advisors are advising us. Ms. Ngema, are you going to say something?
Thank you, Chairperson. I think I must just, I'm not differing or disputing on what the department has just advised, but it's clarity that I'm bringing in respect, Chairperson, of the definitions that the department is saying they are taking through, which is the destruction as coming out of some of the proposed amendments for this mandate. The destruction of natural forest, the new land use, which the department has indicated were not part of the bill. But if you look at the manner the mandate was explained, they were making reference, for instance, there in number 4 to Section 3, just to explain, because they're saying that is where the term is coming from. But the definition will have to occur under clause 1, which is already the section that deals with definitions on the proposed bill. So because the amendment is not going to be effected in Section 3, which would not have been part of the bill, and the same applies with the amendment to the destruction of natural forest, that the department is saying they have no issues with capturing in a manner that will make sense, and it is in agreement with what they implement. So those two definitions, Chairperson, can be effected if the deliberations of the committee supports this amendment, because they are within clause 1, which is already some of the definitions were proposed for an amendment. But if we were touching on Section 3, if we had to amend Section 3, because Section 3 does not form part of the bill that is before the committee right now, that would have been one instance where we have to invoke that provision of the request for the permit of the House, the Council. So in this regard, all I'm pointing out, Chairperson, is that we are in order if the committee is happy to take the proposed definitions that should be corrected or enhanced. And there are 2 points that also Advocate Quetta has noted on the charts, Chairperson, which I'm also not against. One is in relation to clause 4, that giving the discretion to the minister in terms of listing out what would be exceptional circumstances. That and the department has pointed out that there is a legal opinion that speaks to that concern, that normally it's not advisable that you list out what would enter into the definition of exceptional circumstances, because what happens if you happen to omit some of the things that were not foreseeable at the time, but as time progresses, they need to fit in there. So this is an acceptable standard legal term on understanding exceptional circumstances and how they can be defined or referenced when it is necessary. So those are the only few, Chairperson, I just needed to add on. Otherwise, we are looking good. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, ma'am. Ma'am, can you explain the one that if we vote in favor, it will require us to seek a permission from the House so that the members can be, when you are there, you must explain it thoroughly.
No, Chairperson, there isn't. I'm indicating that in respect of the definitions, because the definitions will be effected in clause 1, which is already part of the bill, like the definition to correct destruction of natural forest and the definition to correct new land use. There won't be that issue which require the invocation of the NCOP rule, because as I say, it's in the definitions. So that issue does not arise in the submissions that are coming out in relation to the definitions of this mandate.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Oscar?
Chairperson,
yes.
before we vote.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Before we
Honorable
vote.
Matibe? Honorable
Yes.
Matibe?
I wanted to check because when they were putting the definitions, they did not put them as they are. When we vote, for example, I say I'm voting in favor. Should I also indicate in line with the amended definition? Because I thought the amended definition that was put to us here makes sense. I don't know, or we just say in favor. Yeah, can we be advised there?
Mampumzo? Mamgem? Like last week we were saying, just saying we are voting in favor, Honorable Matibe. Mamgema?
Thank you, Chairperson. I think, Chairperson, if the members want to see, because there is something that as the department read into or the proposed draft, even though it's not finalized, if permission can be granted, if members want to see the proposal to put up what the department read and what is suggested in terms of those definitions. But as I understand, the process is that it's still gonna come back as a draft that the committee needs to look into and then deal with it, deliberate on the clause by clause with those proposals coming out clearly as it should.
I'm fine now, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much, members. Honorable Matibe, in the meantime, can you share for me? There is something quickly home. Can you share for me for 2 minutes?
Okay, thank you very much, honorable members. Aska, I think after those inputs, we were going to the votes. I'm handing over to you and Kobas.
Thank you, Chairperson. Voting for the Northwest mandates will proceed. As mentioned before, I will go alphabetically, province by province. 3 votes are casted by members. They are support, not support, or abstain. Those are the only 3 votes that can be entertained. We'll start off with Northwest, number 1, and the vote from Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape supports.
Free State.
Free State abstains.
Gauteng.
Gauteng support.
KZN.
KZN support.
Limpopo.
Limpopo supports.
Mpumalanga is not on the platform. Northern Cape's not on the platform. Northwest.
I support.
Western
Support,
Cape,
Chair.
Western Cape,
Western Cape abstain.
okay, Chair. That amendment received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 provinces that supported it, so that amendment is accepted. Northwest, the second one. Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape supports.
Free State,
Free State abstains.
Gauteng,
Gauteng support.
Gauteng support. KZN,
KZN support.
Limpopo,
Limpopo supports.
Mpumalanga is not on the platform. Northern Cape is not on the platform. Northwest,
Support.
Western Cape,
Abstain.
okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Amendment accepted. Number 3, Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape supports.
Free State,
Abstain.
Gauteng,
Gauteng support.
KZN,
KZN supports.
Limpopo,
Limpopo supports.
Mpumalanga, not on the platform. Northern Cape, not on the platform. Northwest,
Support.
Western Cape,
Abstain.
okay, clause number 4, Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape supports.
Free State,
Abstain.
Gauteng,
Support.
KZN,
KZN support.
Limpopo,
Limpopo supports.
Mpumalanga and Northern Cape not on the platform. Northwest,
Support, Chair.
Western Cape,
Western Cape abstain.
number 5, Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape supports.
Free State,
Free State abstains.
Gauteng,
Gauteng support.
KZN,
KZN support.
Limpopo,
Limpopo supports.
Mpumalanga, Northern Cape not on the platform. Northwest,
Northwest support.
Western Cape,
Western Cape's abstain.
East, clause number 6, Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape supports.
Free State,
Free State abstains.
Gauteng,
Gauteng support.
KZN,
Baby, we
Aibo.
KZN,
KZN support.
Limpopo,
Limpopo supports. I think Mambi can do it in writing
Yeah.
on the platform. Yeah.
Mpumalanga is not on the platform. Northern Cape not on the platform. Northwest,
Support.
Western Cape,
Abstain.
Did you hear that, Aska? Because I hear Mam.
you breaking up, Chairperson?
I'm saying Mam Bibi is struggling to speak. If we can allow her to just write on the platform or
No problem.
show with the sign there, which says, okay. Yeah,
No
it can
problem.
be fine, so that we don't force her to speak while she's battling to speak. If she can write.
That's acceptable, Chair. Number 7, Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape support.
Free State,
Free State abstains.
Gauteng,
Gauteng support.
KZN,
KZN support.
Limpopo,
Matibe.
Support.
Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, not on the platform. Northwest, Northwest,
Support.
Western Cape.
Abstain.
Could you repeat that, please, ma'am?
Abstain. Sorry.
Okay. Number 8, Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape support.
Free State,
Free State abstains.
Gauteng,
Gauteng support.
KZN,
KZN support.
Limpopo,
Support.
Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, not on the platform. Northwest,
Support, Chair.
Western Cape,
Abstain.
number 9, Eastern Cape,
Support, say.
Free State,
Free State abstains.
Gauteng,
Gauteng support.
KZN,
KZN support.
Limpopo,
Support.
Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, not on the platform. Northwest,
Northwest support.
Western Cape, Western Cape,
Abstain.
abstain. Right, number 10 and 11 are general comments, but we'll still vote on them because they were proposed by the province. Number 10, Eastern Cape,
Support.
Free State,
Abstain.
Gauteng,
Gauteng support.
KZN,
KZN support.
Limpopo,
Support.
Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, not on the platform yet. Northwest,
Northwest support.
Western Cape,
Western Cape. Abstain.
and the last one, number 11, Eastern Cape,
Eastern Cape support.
Free State,
Abstain.
Gauteng,
Gauteng support.
KZN, KZN,
Iyayeseka.
KZN. Okay, I'll come back to Mambibi. Let's do the rest.
Limpopo supports.
Mpumalanga is not on the platform. Northern Cape not on the Northwest. Northwest.
Northwest support.
Western Cape.
Abstain.
All right, we'll go back to Mambibi. Mambibi,
Yeah.
do you support?
Yeah.
Not
Support. Which number is it? Number 11.
number 11,
Yeah.
Mambibi.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
support.
Support.
Okay. Number 3, amendment number 3 received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes. It was accepted. Amendment number 4 received 5 votes. It's accepted. Number 5 received 5 votes. Accepted. Number 6 received 5 votes. Was accepted. Number 7, 5 votes. Accepted. 8 received 5 votes. Accepted. 9, 10, and number 11 will all receive 5 votes and therefore accepted. Chairperson, that concludes the voting on the Northwest mandates. We can proceed with the Western Cape mandates to be read. Chairperson, thank you.
Okay, I'm back, Honorable Matibe.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kubas, you can read the mandate.
Chairperson, may I intervene, please? We haven't asked the permanent delegate from the province whether she would like to read it or whether she would give that.
Oh, okay.
to the-
Honorable Labuschagne.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair. I don't mind. Anybody can read it.
Sorry for that.
Do you want me to read it?
If you want to read it, you can read it. If you want the secretariat to read it for you, it's fine. Anything that you like.
I just feel sorry for Oscar's voice.
Kobus will be reading.
Kobus is the one who's reading.
If Kobus will do me the pleasure, he can read it, please. Thank you.
Sure.
I will read the mandate for Western Cape. The mandate was received on the National Forest Amendment Bill. The vote of the legislature reads as follows. The Standing Committee on Agriculture, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, having considered the subject of the National Forest Amendment Bill, Bill B11B of 2016 in the NCOP, referred to it in accordance with Standing Rule 217, confers on the Western Cape's delegation in the NCOP the authority to support the bill. The committee further proposes the following amendments. I'm just quickly going to stop sharing. It's in a different PDF that I need to call up. The following Western Cape proposed amendments were received. I will start with the first amendment, proposed amendment, clause 2. Forests are prone to fires, and in some instances, it may be necessary to implement short-term solutions that require necessary steps to be taken and that may, at the outset, be regarded as taking a step backward, but in the long term will be beneficial to the environment and all persons. It is submitted that the word long-term be inserted on page 3, line 20, between the word the and the word benefit. Second proposal, clause 6. Section 15.3 of the Principal Act that deals with the effect of the declaration of protected trees is silent on the use of electronic and social media in the publishing of key information. It is submitted that reference is made to electronic and social media by inserting the words as well as on electronic and social media on page 4, line 32, after the word nationally. Proposal 3, clause 9. The proposed addition specifically prohibits any mining activities within state forests, with the exception if an existing agreement exists or in terms of applicable legislation. Due to the significant impact of mining activities, it is submitted that this only be permitted for existing agreements and under no other circumstance, as the exclusion of applicable legislation on page 5, line 16, is too broad and unclear. It is submitted that the words or be applicable legislation be deleted. Fourth proposed amendment, clause 15. Although the enabling provisions of appeals in respect of the insertion of clause 15 are accepted, it is submitted that the consideration must be given to incorporating the detail as well as the timeframes of the appeals process in the regulations and not in the amendment bill. Those 4 proposed amendments were received from the Western Cape Parliament. I hand back to the Secretariat for the input from departments and voting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kobus. The department?
Thank you, Chair, and the honorable members. Maybe just to first appreciate the support from the Western Cape with these added proposed amendments. From our side, the first point, which relates to forestry being prone to fires and the proposed inclusion of the wording long term. Chair, our response to that is that the wording, for example, if you say short term, immediate term, or long term, that kind of wording is really suited for, or it finds expression mainly when you're dealing with policy documents. That is our experience, and I haven't seen in my experience any act or law that would say, for example, short term, long term. So that kind of wording really is suited for policy documents. So we really don't support the use of that wording in the Act. The sustainable forestry management as a principle has the planning aspect embedded into it. The long term is suggested. So, Chair, we don't support the inclusion of that wording long term in the legislation. In any case, legislation by its nature is designed to cater for current and future eventualities. Maybe to close on this one, Chair, with a reference to forest fires, there is a separate legislation, the Field and Forest Fires Act, which then generally deals comprehensively with issues relating to forest fires generally. So to summarize here on this one, we don't support the inclusion of the word long term in the Act. On the second point, Chair, the clause 6, section which amends section 15. The proposal there is for us to then include reference to use of electronic and social media in the Act. Chair, we do not support that proposal because this proposal mainly relates to the how part, the how the Act should be, or how the communication should be effected or should be conducted. And generally, the how part in legislation is answered in the regulations. As long as we have the empowering provision in the Act that says you must communicate, then the how part generally is expressed in the regulation. So our position here is changed that kind of wording or the modalities on how then communication should happen is ideal for the regulations. So that proposal, Chair, we are saying it should go to the regulations and not the Act. So the proposal is, as it stands, is not supported, but you are willing to accommodate it in the regulations. Then on clause 9, which amends section 23(4), here the proposal is for us to then delete reference to applicable legislation. Chair, here we agreed with the Western Cape. The reference to applicable legislation will be deleted, and we've provided some alternative wording in the text. For example, then the text will now, subsection 4 will then read, that prohibition will then read as follows: no person may engage in any prospecting or mining activity in a state forest except in terms of an existing lease agreement. So the wording will go along those lines. But now our proposal in summary is that we are aligned with the Western Cape. The reference to applicable legislation will be removed, but we wanted to emphasize that we have relationship with companies such as Safcol, and we have concluded some lease agreements with them. So subsection 4 should then reference those existing lease agreements, so that the companies are able to then operate and to mine for gravel and sand for road maintenance. So Chair, we are supporting the proposal from the Western Cape with the suggested alternative wording. Then on the last one, Chair, I think it's about the appeal processes. The proposal in summary says we need to prescribe the time frames for the appeal processes. Chair, our view is that the proposal firstly is not supported. We should not prescribe time frames in the Act itself. In fact, the initial proposal was saying the appeal processes there is an empowering provision in the Act, but then it says the modalities on how some of the steps will be carried out will be prescribed in the regulations. So again, it's a matter of the how part. We have an empowering provision. The how part, we are saying it should go to the regulations. The modalities on how the appeal processes or some aspects of the appeal process should be undertaken should find expression in the regulations. So, Chair, we are saying we are opposed to this. We don't support the proposal, and we are saying we'll make some accommodation for it in the regulations, especially with the time frames specifically here. It will be difficult, and it will sometimes confine us because appeals in our context are quite involved, and sometimes we would have to rely on expert evidence, or you have to consult experts. So if we prescribe timeframes in the Act, it will be difficult for the department itself to comply with those timeframes. So we wanted that element of flexibility for our context, so that we can accommodate everyone. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spusiso. Mengema.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, Honorable Matibe.
Before Mengema comes in, can the department summarize in terms of the clauses which one they are supporting and which one they are not supporting? Not supporting all of them. That's a brief summary.
Department.
No, thank you, Chair. I hope I've understood the question, but from I think the question asks which proposal are we supporting on, or which one are we not supporting? Am I correct, Chair?
Yes.
Okay. No, from our side, from the Western Cape, I think there is 1, 2, 3, 4. They've made 4 proposals, and out of the 4, we are supporting 1, and we are not supporting 3.
Which one?
Or the first one we are not supporting.
No, but I'm saying the one that you don't, the one that we are supporting.
Or the one we are supporting is
number 3.
Clause 9.
Clause 9. Okay.
Amendment of Section 23, subsection 4.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ndate Matibe. Ma'am Ngema.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think just 2 things, Chairperson, that perhaps to point out for the members' consideration. On number 2, clause 6, it's indeed a policy decision, Chairperson, as to how is put up, and the department has indicated that they would prefer extensive details going into the regulations. It is just to point out that in terms of what is currently appearing there for purposes of Section 15 in clause 6, they are already pointing out that that can be done in the Gazette as well as 2 newspapers that are circulating nationally. So the addition of these other things they've indicated that they are not supporting, but the legislation is already clear on those that are prescribed, especially in line with the Prescription Act, when we are supposed to be doing public notices, the Gazette, and they are adding as well the national circulating newspapers, which must also address that. And then on clause 9, Chairperson, the number 3 one, my only concern, as I pointed out with the other province which had raised the same, I'm fine with the removal of applicable legislation as explained and as the department is supporting. It is just the issue on the agreements, the existing agreements, as well as the valid agreement. Perhaps it's just a point that we will need to find one another if the committee agrees that this amendment in respect of the agreements, how we are going to capture that in order to be clear and bring the certainty that the Western Cape has raised as a concern that was missing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I hope members have been read the chart from the State Law Advisor. Now I give back to you, Aska, for voting.
Thank you, Chair. We will now vote on the 4 proposed amendments put forward by the Western Cape as indicated previously. 3 votes will be entertained. I mean, we will do the voting alphabetical per province, and 3 votes will be entertained from each member, which will be support, not support, or abstain. I will then start off with the first proposed amendment by the Western Cape and Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape not support.
Free State.
Free State supports.
10.
Support.
KZN.
KZN don't support.
Limpopo.
Limpopo abstain.
Mpumalanga and Northern Cape is not on the platform. Northwest.
Not support.
Western Cape.
Support.
Proposed amendment number 2. Eastern Cape.
Not support.
Free State.
Supports.
Gauteng.
Stay.
My apologies. Gauteng, will please repeat their vote.
Abstain.
Gauteng.
Abstain.
Thank you. KZN.
KZN don't support.
Limpopo.
Abstain.
Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, not the platform. Northwest.
Not supporting.
Western Cape.
Eastern Cape.
Sorry.
Western Cape.
Support.
Okay. Proposed amendment number 3. Eastern Cape.
Abstain.
Free State.
Abstain.
Gauteng.
Not support.
Not support. KZN.
Don't support.
Limpopo.
Abstain.
Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, not on the platform. Northwest.
Abstain.
Western Cape.
Support.
Okay. Last proposed amendment by the Western Cape. Eastern Cape.
Not support.
Eastern.
Abstain.
Gauteng.
Support.
KZN.
Don't support.
Limpopo.
Abstain.
Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, not on the platform. Northwest.
Abstain.
Western Cape.
Support.
Okay, if I've read all the votes, none of the Western Cape proposed amendments have received 5 provinces in support. Therefore, none of the Western Cape proposed amendments are accepted. Chairperson, that concludes the reading and voting on the negotiating mandates on the National Forest Amendment Bill. The only matter that's left now is the minutes of 19 May and 1st June that have to be adopted. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Aska. Thank you very much, the department, for attending our meeting. We thank you for giving us clarity where we were needing it. And the legal advisor, state advisor, for you to be in the meeting, whereas you are not well, but thank you very much for supporting us. Now you are released. The committee members must remain. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and members.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chairperson and the members. Goodbye.
Sure. Honorable members, I put in, did you receive the minutes of the 19 of
We
May?
did.
And I put it in front of you for adoption, members, or amendment.
I move for the adoption, Chairperson, Honorable Matiba.
Any seconder?
Lindwe Pipi, seconds.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Bibi. The minutes for the 1st of June. Did you receive them on time, honorable members?
Yes, Chairperson.
We did.
Okay, I put in front of you for adoption or amendment, if there are any amendment.
Ngwenya adopt, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Ngwenya. Any seconder? Any seconder?
I second, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Matibe. The minutes are adopted. Anything, Aska?
Chairperson, that would conclude the business of the day.
Thank you very much, honorable members. We know that you have been in the house since in the morning. Now I will say to you, go back home, drive safe, and don't speed, because speed, or don't drink and drive, and drive safe, and good evening, I mean good night.
No
Oh, the
catering.
catering is on my...
What type of drink are you talking about?
No
the
catering.
dinner is on my bill. You can eat as you want.
Okay.
Thank you very much, members. This meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Recording stopped.